Hello, welcome to the India Story, the only show that takes a deeper look at the week's top political stories and other stories across the worlds of business, entertainment, sports, and technology. The stories that really matter to the global audience. I'm Vikram Chandra, and tonight we're going to be discussing the fierce debate by Indian political parties on the no-confidence motion faced by the Narendra Modi-led NDA government. That no-confidence motion brought forward by the opposition Congress party and a couple of others over the Manipur violence and other issues. A heated debate lasted 3 days, with the NDA very comfortably defeating the motion with a voice vote on August the 10th. Details on all of that coming up a bit later on the show. Also on the program, Parliament this week also passed a crucial bill that will redefine the power distribution structure between the centre and the ruling government in the capital city, Delhi. Is the bill going to help or be a hindrance to making Delhi a world-class capital? And what needs to be done to make Delhi into a world-class city? We'll have a special discussion on that on the program. And we have a special interview with the 17-year-old archer ADITI SWAMI, who's created history by becoming the youngest ever senior world champion and the first Indian to secure an individual compound gold medal at the World Archery Championships. But before we look at any of that, a quick look at some of the major headlines that we've been tracking this week. The Prime Minister Narendra Modi's led BJP NDA government defeated the no-confidence motion brought against it by the Congress on August the 10th. The motion was defeated by a voice vote after the opposition staged a walkout during the Prime Minister's speech. The Congress had earlier said that it brought the motion to force the Prime Minister to speak on Manipur in Parliament. A bill proposed by the centre on the selection of the Chief Election Commissioners and the Election Commissioners excludes the Chief Justice of India from the process. The top court in March had said that the appointment panel should have the Prime Minister, the Leader of the Opposition and the Chief Justice of India. But the proposed bill replaces the Chief Justice with a Cabinet Minister appointed by the Prime Minister. The bill was tabled in the Rajya Sabha on August the 10th, and it prompted an immediate uproar in the House, leading to its adjournment. It will be now debated and discussed a little later. Dharamjot Singh Kahlon, who allegedly supplied weapons for Punjabi singer Sidhu Moosewala's murder, was detained in the United States this week. Indian authorities will reportedly soon launch a bid to work with the FBI and to extradite Kahlon to India. The arms supplier, who is believed to be well connected to gangsters Goldie Brar and Lawrence Bishnoi, is accused of smuggling advanced weapons. And China has reportedly raised objections to the inclusion of Vasudhaiv Kutumbakam, the world is one family, a Sanskrit phrase, as the theme for India's G20 presidency. According to some media reports, China opposed the phrase and its use in official documents during last month's G20 energy ministerial meeting as well, and has also been objecting to it in other similar G20 documents because, China says, Sanskrit is not one of the 6 official languages recognized by the United Nations. And now let's have a more detailed look at the big news story of the week. The Lok Sabha rejecting the no-confidence motion brought forward by the opposition alliance India against the Modi government on August the 10th. Now, it was almost certain that the no-confidence motion would obviously fail. I think even the opposition knew that that no-confidence was going to fail. The NDA and its supporters, some 366 votes, way more than what is required to actually win a vote of confidence. So the real focus was never about the actual vote or who was going to win. The real focus was the debate, the discussion. Who has the chance to put forward their point of view in a more effective manner, and who therefore gets to kickstart the battle for 2024 in an effective manner. Now, after 3 days of intense debates and pointed attacks, Prime Minister Narendra Modi took the floor for a closing address in the lower house. His speech, which was a record speech lasting over 2 hours, essentially summed up the whole thing, what the government wanted to say, and he essentially highlighted the opposition's past failures during their time in power, while also focusing on what he called the current government's successful policy decisions.
कांग्रेस के लोगों को लगता होगा कि ये कोई जादू से लकड़ी से हुआ है, लेकिन मैं आज सदन को बताना चाहता हूं माननीय अध्यक्ष, रिफॉर्म, परफॉर्म एंड ट्रांसफॉर्म एक निश्चित आयोजन, प्लानिंग और कठोर परिश्रम की पराकाष्ठा, और इसी की वजह से आज देश इस मुकाम पर पहुंचा है। और ये प्लानिंग और परिश्रम की निरंतरता बनी रहेगी। आवश्यकता अनुसार उसमें नए रिफॉर्म होंगे और परफॉर्मेंस के लिए पूरी तरह ताकत को लगाया जाएगा, और परिणाम ये होगी कि हम तीसरे नंबर पर पहुंच के रहेंगे।
Earlier, Congress MP Gaurav Gogoi had actually opened the entire debate, saying that the opposition bloc India was forced to bring the no-confidence motion to break Prime Minister Narendra Modi's vow of silence on Manipur. At least that's what he termed it as.
आज तक वो मणिपुर क्यों नहीं गए? राहुल जी गए, इंडिया अलायंस के विभिन्न पार्टीज गए, गृह मंत्री जी गए, MOS होम गए, पर देश के मुखिया होने के नाते प्रधानमंत्री मोदी जी क्यों नहीं गए? ये है सवाल पहला।
And Congress leader Rahul Gandhi also made a return to the Lok Sabha by launching a full-fledged attack on the BJP, accusing the government of what he called inadequate action to halt the Manipur violence.
हिंदुस्तान की सेना मणिपुर में एक दिन में शांति ला सकती है। हिंदुस्तान की सेना का प्रयोग नहीं कर रहे हो, क्योंकि आप हिंदुस्तान को मणिपुर में मारना चाहते हो।
And there were numerous other speeches as well from the opposition side, including this speech which attracted some attention from the fiery Trinamool Congress leader, Mahua Moitra.
A 37% vote share party can only prevail if the rest of us 63% are shared, and we are not. This time we will take you on and we will win.
But the time to speak in a no-confidence motion is determined by the strength also. So the government got more than enough time to put forward its point of view as well. There was also a near-record speech from the government side from the Union Home Minister Amit Shah, who spoke at great length on the situation in Manipur, and he described in some detail as to what led to the problems in the first place.
हमारे NDA का कुंबा मोदी जी के नेतृत्व में, भारतीय जनता पार्टी मोदी जी के नेतृत्व में हम देश में सिद्धांतों की राजनीति को प्रस्तावित करने के लिए राजनीति में है। एन प्रकारेण सत्ता को बचाने के लिए राजनीति के अंदर नहीं है।
Look, as I said, the win for the Modi government in the no-trust debate comes obviously as no surprise. It was a foregone conclusion right from the start, given that the numbers were comfortably stacked in their favor. There wasn't even an actual vote that was done. The question now is, one, who has actually got the edge in all of this? Who has got a kickstart as a result of that no-confidence motion in the build-up to 2024? And yes, there is a second question. The issue of Manipur, which triggered the no-trust motion, and that situation continues to simmer. On the day when the Prime Minister was replying to the debate in Parliament, there was another horrific case of rape and torture that emerged in the state. The survivor, presently residing in a relief camp, lodged a complaint with the police, revealing the details of the crime that had actually occurred way back on May the 3rd. So Manipur does continue to smolder, and we can only hope that the situation in Manipur will return to normal as soon as possible. But let's now turn our attention to that other major question that I was asking. Who got the edge as a result of all of this? Who was benefited by this, and who now has used this as a springboard for the battle to 2024? We're now going to be joined by three separate experts. Shehzad Poonawalla from the BJP is going to be with us, Shama Mohammed of the Congress Party, and Neerja Chaudhary, a leading political analyst, will help us to put this together. Let me start with you, Shehzad Poonawalla. How do you think that entire no-confidence motion went? Of course, the fact that the NDA was going to win the vote of no confidence was never actually in doubt, but the debate itself and the ability to use this as a launch pad for 2024, how do you think the 2-3 days went?
Well, the no confidence motion, the speech particularly by the Prime Minister and the Home Minister were deeply detailed, comprehensive, sharp, high on facts, on substance, empathetic, and they addressed all the issues, the most pressing issue being, of course, the situation in Manipur, but also showing a mirror of what has happened in the past few decades in the Northeast. And it also exposed the larger agenda with which the opposition had even put this no confidence motion forward. The first line of the speech of Prime Minister Modi was that this is less about lack of confidence in the government and more about finding confidence or common ground amongst these disparate elements who have come together in a repackaged form of UPA. And lo and behold, what happened? Before the Manipur explanation and the entire situation could be explained, the entire UPA walked out. Now, if the UPA was indeed very, very serious about Manipur, shouldn't they have sat in Parliament, heard the Prime Minister, and used their right to respond, which is given to the person who moves the motion?
Well, the opposition was saying that this was essentially a ploy. This was an effort to try and get the Prime Minister to come and speak about Manipur on the floor of the House. And they did listen to his debate for 80-90 minutes. When he hadn't spoken about Manipur till then, they left.
But then, you see, we were always saying from day one, let's have a discussion on Manipur. We said it in the all-party meeting. We agreed to it in the Business Advisory Council. Thereafter, they came and started making a rule, an ego issue. They did not allow for a full-fledged only discussion on Manipur. Then they moved the no-confidence motion. And when they moved the no-confidence motion, they raised the whole range of issues. Did T.R. Balu speak only about Manipur? Did Dimple Yadav speak only about Manipur? Did Supriya Sure speak only about Manipur? Many of the opposition speakers spoke on everything under the sun. So obviously, it was incumbent on us to speak on all issues. And the Prime Minister, when he was speaking on Manipur, why didn't the opposition have the patience to listen to his answers? Why didn't they have the patience to listen to what the Congress Party has done in the Northeast all these years and what has transformed under the last 9 years of Prime Minister Modi and what happened in the current situation in Manipur? I don't think that the Congress was ever interested in Manipur. They were interested in making this the 14th launch project of Rahul Gandhi. Now, unfortunately for Congress and his lieutenants nannies of Rahul Gandhi failed to pack a punch. So I think it was all that we remember about his speech is a missed opportunity and a flying kiss.
All right, Shehzad Poonawalla, thank you so much for joining us for that reaction. Let me now get completely the other side. Shama Mohammed now joining us from the Congress Party. And let's try and get the other side of that particular view. Shama, I don't think even the opposition was ever actually expecting to win the vote of no confidence. You didn't think that the Prime Minister would actually lose this. What then was the purpose of the entire no confidence vote? And do you think the opposition was able to be successful in achieving what it wanted?
Okay, so first and foremost, Vikram, this no confidence motion, we knew that they had the numbers. But we got in the no confidence motion because Mr. Modi refused to say Manipur. Manipur has been burning for the last 80 days. And he came out once when the viral video came out and he said something for 30 seconds, one. Number two, he never visited Manipur. And number three, he has not dismissed Mr. Biren Singh. These are the three important things for us. Now, is the way he was joking the whole time from the beginning. For now, he was making jokes. There's a very serious issue out there. More than 150 people have lost their lives. More than 1 lakh are in camps. They have to be rehabilitated. Children are not going to school. We know that ammunitions, more than 6,000 guns have been robbed from police stations. There is a huge divide between the Kukis and the Meiteis. Violence out there. The Prime Minister refuses to visit the place. The Prime Minister, normally around the world, when such things happen, the Prime Minister, President, Chancellor comes out and say, my dear people, I need peace. please stop this. You know, a call for peace. Did he do that? Did he do that?
Shama, I mean, I'm not going to try and, I don't want to go over the entire debate. I think everyone saw the entire thing, step by step, all the points that were made on both sides. But just coming up again to the helicopter view and analysing this from the point of view of the opposition and analysing it from the point of view of 2024. The other thing that I think caught a lot of people's attention is the fact that when it comes to opposition unity, now you've got parties like the Biju Janata Dal and the YSRCP, which were taking a very clear position in favour of the NDA and against the rest of the opposition. And given that there are a lot of seats out there, we already saw how that actually got the NDA victory in the Delhi bill. It may happen on other areas as well. In the battle to 2024, the opposition clearly still has its task cut out for it because many of those parties may well be supporting the NDA later also.
Well, let's understand they don't have the old Shiv Sena, which was with them. The Akali Dal is not with them. The TDP is not with them. The JDU is not with them. So, of course, YSRCP as well as the other party, which you had mentioned, both of them, BJD, both of them were supporting them before. And the funny part or the thing about BJD, what I see is that they fight against them in the state, but they are together at the center. So that will definitely at one point have, BJD will, I think, is making its own trap to fall into it. And that's what I would say. So there goes. There are many new allies maybe, but they are taking small little parties, instead of the big parties which they had. So there are not, those who were there in 2019 are not there today. Let's understand that. And never before we have had such an alliance in India. See, we have had post-poll alliances, but pre-poll maybe in 1977. And right now, after so many years, we have parties from all over the country. Yes, we do fight against them in states, I agree. But to save this country, to save democracy, we've come out. Now look what has happened about the Election Commission selection. The Chief Justice was there. Now they want to remove, they want to pass a bill in Parliament where the Chief Justice is not there. It's the Prime Minister, Leader of Opposition, and a Cabinet Minister. See, what are they doing? So they even want to control the elections next year. They do not want to make it an independent election just in case if they are losing, then they want to do all sorts of things out there to win the election.
All right, Shama Mohammed, thank you so much for joining us. There is 10 months to go for the 2024 elections, and I suspect we'll be having a busy time and having frequent conversations on how the battle for 2024 is actually shaping itself out. Thank you so much for joining us. Well, all right, look, we've heard the BJP view on this. We've heard the Congress view on this. Let's now try and get an impartial view. Nija Chaudhary, senior journalist and political analyst, now joining us. Nija, sum it up. We've heard the political views. Sum it up for us. How do you think the no confidence motion went?
Look, it was something everybody was waiting for. The opposition parties had using this ploy of no confidence motion, which they did not hope to get through, to compel the Prime Minister to speak on the issue of Manipur and to have the issue of Manipur discussed in Parliament. That has been their demand now for a long time, and the Manipur violence has gone on for so long, over 3 months. There have been cases of sexual assault of women in Manipur. I think it's something that India will take a long time to live down. So they had a very strong issue in hand. But overall, what the feeling I'm left with is that it was an unequal battle.
No, so you're saying that the opposition potentially had a good opportunity to put the government on the mat, but you seem to be indicating that it is your feeling that the government came out on top, irrespective of that.
In terms of their rhetoric, in terms of marshalling their facts, their arguments, putting the opposition on the mat, attacking the opposition. And Amit Shah, the Home Minister, did it by quoting chapter and verse, going into the history, what the Congress has done, why the situation in Manipur has become bad. The Prime Minister was at his rhetorical best. It was like one of those election rallies. And it was really, I thought today, the start of the election campaign for 2024. So given that, on the opposition side, they had not done that kind of homework, nor I think was it a coordinated strategy of who would say what, the points that would be covered by different speakers, because the Congress is handicapped by not having tall leaders who are good orators in the Lok Sabha.
All right, Nija Chaudhary. So the start of 2024 campaign, you think, and dare I ask at this stage, of course, there's a long way to go. But at this stage, how do you think that particular battle is going?
I think, the fact that the BJP is worried about India, the new alliance, 26 party, may be one reason why such a blistering attack was mounted by the Prime Minister. Okay. And by the BJP side. They clearly are worried. Also because 38 parties, small parties, have now joined the alliance of the NDA side. What they would be worried about is if the opposition gets its act together and can reduce the majority of the BJP by 60, 70 seats, then it may be a different game that gets played out. Could there be a new leader? Could there be more checks and balances that kick into place? All that is a question mark. Whether they'll be able to do it is another matter. But certainly the BJP, who takes elections very, very seriously, obviously takes the challenge by India seriously, whatever they may say publicly.
All right, Nija Chaudhary, thank you so much for joining us. It was a rather eventful week in Parliament and, of course, battle for 2024, long way away. So let's see what actually happens as we go forward. Thank you so much for joining us. Let's now move to something else that actually emerged from Parliament. The entire question of Delhi and the future of Delhi and how Delhi should be governed. Now, the images on your screen depict India's growth story, India's growing dominance in world affairs, India's constant effort to make its capital, New Delhi, into a world-class city. Now, how much progress has been made? How much progress still remains to be made? Now, the answer is somewhat complex, but it's an important story because as the India story rolls forward, India needs a world-class capital. So we're going to try and simplify this complex answer for our viewers over this program. And we must start our story from the new Parliament complex where the Delhi Services Bill was passed earlier this week. Now, that more or less gives the central government increasing authority over the Delhi government on the control of administrative services and the transfer of officers in the national capital. Delhi, after all, is the seat of the central government, at the same time of the local government. And there is where the conflict is, there is where the conflict has been, and that's where this entire battle has been there over this bill and over an ordinance. Now, the centre promulgated an ordinance a short while back that sought to overturn a Supreme Court verdict that had given executive powers to the Arvind Kejriwal government in service matters, which included transfer and posting of officers. And since May, Kejriwal rallied and made lots and lots of efforts to try and get this particular bill to be blocked in the upper house, even securing the backing of a reluctant Congress. But Naveen Patnaik's Biju Janata Dal and Jagan Reddy's YSRCP sided with the centre. And as a result, the bill has been cleared by the Rajya Sabha as well. And it is now, once the president gives assent, it's going to be law. And that does tilt the balance of who has the dominant position in Delhi. It shifts it from Arvind Kejriwal, the Aam Aadmi Party and the state government, to the central government and to the Lieutenant Governor. The new bill revokes some aspects of the ordinance and in theory, it claims to follow the powers provided by the Constitution to the Parliament to pass laws regarding the governance of Delhi. The amendments introduced this time seek to establish a permanent National Capital Civil Service Authority, headed by the Chief Minister, to give recommendations to the LG on the postings and the control of civil servants. But the LG has been given the power to make appointments as well. Similarly, for commissions or bodies established by Parliament, for Delhi, the President shall have the power to appoint or nominate members. But multiple provisions in the bill, while outwardly in accordance with established precedents, are used by the Aam Aadmi Party now to say that the centre's essentially got the opportunity and the ability to actually wield power over civil servants and then therefore effectively wield power in the city of Delhi. Now, all of this tussle has been playing itself out and has now played itself out in Parliament, and it's very clear that the central government has now won that particular battle and therefore has a lot of power and a lot of influence in Delhi. But the question now is, what happens then to the actual woes and the problems of Delhi? Will the resolution of this particular battle now make it easier or more difficult for the problems of Delhi to be fixed? And what happens to that dream of making Delhi into a world-class capital? Now, when you come to look at it from the point of view of Delhi, there are problems and there are woes that are actually dramatically visible every time it rains heavily. While some parts of the city are being beautified for the impending G20 summit in September, other parts of the city clearly need a massive upgrade. Will the bill expedite Delhi's infrastructural transformation? That is a question that is up for debate, and we are going to be discussing it over the course of the next 10-15 minutes. But before we dissect what works and what doesn't work for Delhi, let's briefly look at how major capitals in the rest of the world are actually administered. Washington, D.C., the American capital, has an elected mayor and a council with limited powers. But importantly, the US Congress has a veto power. The Australian capital, Canberra, much like Delhi, also has an elected assembly and a government, but it has limited powers. In Japan, Tokyo is governed by a metropolitan government, a self-governing body with a 127-member assembly. London, the capital of the United Kingdom, has a mayor, a civic body for central London, and local councils for boroughs. In Canada, the federal government controls land use planning and the major infrastructure of the capital, Ottawa. In Berlin, the German government looks after security and policy coordination. So it's a bit of a mixed picture what happens in the rest of the world. Moving to Delhi, what is working and what is not working for the capital? How close is Delhi to actually becoming a world-class city? Let's first begin with the good parts, the good news. Let's begin with a fact. More than being a mode of transportation, the Delhi Metro is an infrastructural marvel. It has brought transformational changes to public transportation in the capital. It is continuing to be expanded, and once the rapid rail system also comes in, Delhi is going to have a pretty good public transport system. Delhi also has the most extensive road network in India. 21% of its geographical area is motorways. The city now boasts of 75 flyovers that ease traffic congestion, as against just 5 in 1982 at the time of the Asian Games. About 99% of Delhi's households have power lines, compared to only 67% nationally. Delhi, of course, has got one of the highest per capita incomes in the country by some distance. And a very important fact, green cover in the capital has actually shot up and shot up sharply over the last 2 decades. Delhi is one of the greenest capital cities anywhere in the world. You wouldn't believe it looking at the pollution, but Delhi is actually a very green city. And that's the good part. What's the bad part? What's really holding Delhi back? Well, the main challenges are some of these. Well, crime, for example. Okay, Delhi is not a crime-ridden city like Soweto or Johannesburg or some cities in Brazil, but at the end of the day, there has been a 15% rise in crime registration over 2021 over 2020. And in particular, there's been a perception for a while that Delhi is unsafe for women. Crimes against women, those continue to go up. 3 rapes happen in Delhi daily on average. But while you could debate just how bad Delhi is from a crime point of view, there is no debating this particular issue in Delhi. For at least 4 months in the year, the national capital of India turns into a gas chamber. For years now, Delhi has ranked among the most polluted cities anywhere in the world. In winter, it becomes absolutely unbearable. 300, 400, 500 on the AQI. Those are not conditions that any human should or can actually live under without a severe impact on health. And Delhi goes through this day after day, month after month, every single winter. Then there's the entire challenge that comes from traffic congestion. Yes, there are great roads, there are lots of roads, lots and lots of space is given to the roads, but Delhi's ranking in global metro congestion indices has also fallen from 8 to 11 in 2021. In the same year, Delhi had spent 152 hours extra when driving in rush hour. And then there is an entire question that is now opening up around social cohesion in the capital. There seems to be some sort of a repeat of tensions that is coming up. 3 years ago, when former US President Donald Trump came visiting, there were actual riots that took place in one part of Delhi. And that, of course, had a major impact. And now there's tension taking place on the outskirts of Delhi in the area of Gurugram. And, of course, way back, 1984, there were those infamous Delhi riots that took place. So social cohesion is another question that continues to loom over Delhi. So there are good things in Delhi and around Delhi, and there are bad things. Now, the question is, what can we do to make the national capital a world-class city? All right, but let me not make this into a generalized rant. One of the main purposes of this particular program is also to look for solutions. So let's try and find answers. Okay, now there is some clarity on where the Delhi government and the central government stand when it comes to questions of services. You may not like the answers, or you may like the answers, but okay, that's happened now. Let's look at some of the other aspects of what is holding Delhi back. What has happened to the master plan of Delhi? A master plan 41 that was supposed to set in stage a particular pathway for the development of city. And what happens to this entire question of dual responsibility? For example, road maintenance in India's capital is controlled by 6 agencies, by the way, which are either reporting to the centre or to local government. A similar situation with land usage. There's the MCD, there's the DDA, there's the NDMC. Other agencies also have control. Urban planning comes under 4 different implementing agencies. So, for that matter, does water supply. Can we try and find a way to streamline this? And can we try and get that master plan moving forward? Joining us to discuss this, Bhupinder Bazad, the president of the Delhi Master Plan Committee of the Delhi NDA Vikas Manch, somebody who's been really getting a lot of RWAs and others together to push for action as soon as possible. We're also joined by Balwinder Kumar, who was the vice chairman of the DDA and one of the people who tried very hard to push those policies forward and set them into implementation mode. So what is Delhi's path for becoming a world-class city? Yes, this bill has been passed, but what's going to happen now going forward? Bhupinder Bazad now joins us, president of the Delhi Master Plan Committee of the Delhi NDA Vikas Manch. And in just a couple of minutes, we're going to be speaking to Balwinder Kumar, who was actually the vice chairman of the DDA and therefore knows what all the plans for Delhi are. But Bhupinder ji is one of the people who's been actually leading the charge. A lot of resident welfare associations and others have come together and they've been really agitating and clamoring that somehow Delhi should be fixed and Delhi should be improved. What is holding it back? Why is it that the master plan is not being notified and Delhi is not getting the chance to become the sort of a city we would like it to become?
Thank you, Vikram ji. आपने जो है इस इतने अहम मुद्दे को आपने आज शो में शामिल किया है. एक्चुअल में ये पॉलिसीज़ जो दिल्ली के अंदर मास्टर प्लान 2021 स्टार्ट हुआ था और इसके अंदर 2 पॉलिसीज़ मेजर पॉलिसी थी, जिसकी जो बाकी बची हुई दिल्ली है अराउंड 1 लाख एकड़ 1 लाख एकड़ लैंड्स जो अभी बची हुई थी दिल्ली के अंदर, उन पे ग्रीन फील्ड है, उनके ऊपर डेवलपमेंट होनी थी. उसमें 2 मेजर पॉलिसी थी. GDA पॉलिसी जो लगभग 88 विलेजेस को कैटर करेगी और 105 विलेजेस को लैंड पूलिंग पॉलिसी.
और फ़र्क इसमें यह है कि GDA जो पॉलिसी है वो एसेंशली कहती है कि जो एग्जिस्टिंग जगह हैं जहां एग्जिस्टिंग फार्म हाउस सब हैं या एग्जिस्टिंग अगर कुछ कंस्ट्रक्शन है तो उसको कैसे कंट्रोल किया जाए. लैंड पूलिंग का मतलब है कि लोग एक साथ इकट्ठा आएँ, लैंड को पूल करें लिटरली और वहाँ डेवलपमेंट हो.
करेक्ट.
तो ये सब मास्टर प्लान में है, पर सब लोग ये पूछ रहे हैं मास्टर प्लान गया कहाँ?
अभी मास्टर प्लान के साथ साथ में एक्चुअल में ये दोनों पॉलिसीज़ को लागू करने के लिए मास्टर प्लान 2021 में पहले था, अब ये 2041 के अंदर आ गया. 2041 बिल्कुल रेडी है, एवरीथिंग इज़ रेडी, कोई भी चीज़ उसमें पेंडिंग नहीं है DDA की तरफ से भी और गवर्नमेंट के जो दूसरे डिपार्टमेंट्स हैं उनकी तरफ से भी. अभी सिर्फ एक तो ये 2 जो पावर शेयरिंग हो रखा है, ड्यूल गवर्नमेंट चल रही है दिल्ली की और सेंटर की. मेरे को तो लगता है कि इसकी वजह से ये पॉलिसीज़ दिल्ली का विकास रुका हुआ है काफ़ी लंबे समय से और अब टाइम है कि दोनों पॉलिसियां रेडी हैं और बन के ग्राउंड पे लाई जा सकती हैं। अदरवाइज अनऑथराइज कंस्ट्रक्शन इस दिल्ली को खाता जा रहा है।
क्योंकि द रियल प्रॉब्लम इज दिस कि अगर आपके पास कोई फर्म पॉलिसी नहीं हो, अगर कोई रेगुलेटरी फ्रेमवर्क नहीं हो, अगर ऑथराइजेशन या डेवलपमेंट के कोई नॉर्म्स नहीं हो, तो क्या होगा? लोग इलीगली करेंगे, पैसा दे देंगे, तो करप्शन भी है और जमीन पर सिचुएशन भी खराब होती जा रही है। क्या यही सिचुएशन है एसेंशियली?
अभी एग्जैक्टली यही हो रहा है। लगभग ये समझ लीजिए हर साल में लगभग 400 से 500 एकड़ अनऑथराइज कंस्ट्रक्शन की भेंट चढ़ रही है। और मोदी जी का विज़न है कि 5 ट्रिलियन इकोनॉमिक इसको इंडिया को बनाना है 2024 तक। तो उसमें एक ये बहुत बड़ा बूस्ट भी आएगा। दोनों पॉलिसीज, मास्टर प्लान 2041 अगर लागू होता है तो लगभग 25 लाख करोड़ रुपया दिल्ली के अंदर इन्वेस्टमेंट आएगा। और इसका आप देखो इकोसिस्टम जो बनेगा, जो इतने इन्वेस्टमेंट आने के बाद उसका इम्पैक्ट बहुत बड़ा जाने वाला है।
चलिए, आपने डीडीए की बात करी, एमसीडी की बात करी, सो लेट्स नाउ जस्ट टर्न टू मिस्टर Balwinder Kumar now joining us. He's been the vice chairman of the DDA and therefore has seen all the efforts that have been made for a period of time to try and make Delhi into a world-class city. Well, Mr. Balwinder Kumar, you've been the vice chairman of the DDA, the man in the hot seat. You've seen all the efforts that have been made to try and make Delhi into a world-class city. Now, many people say that one of the reasons why Delhi is not going forward very fast is divided responsibility. What is the DDA doing? What is the MCD doing? What is the central government doing? What is the state government doing? In the long-term future, if Delhi is to be made into a world-class city that is the capital of one of the fast-growing countries in the world, what should be done? Do you agree with all of those issues, or do you think development is happening properly?
Yeah, absolutely agree. But because before I come to the Master Plan 2041, which everybody is talking about, because ultimately one direction for planned development is to be given. And this direction is always given by the Master Plan. So 2041 Master Plan is for 20 years down the line, what kind of development should be there. That is all envisaged in the Master Plan.
Well, Mr. Kumar, of course, there are lots of policies, including some that you yourself are pushing, like land pooling. But a lot of this has also gone into a master plan. That master plan technically has the blueprint which can convert Delhi into that world-class city we're talking about. When do you think that master plan is going to be notified? When is it going to come, or is there no clear idea so far?
You reserve for plantation, that is not the problem. Green area. Problem is these around 100 villages, there's 5 zones, they are covered under land pooling policy. If we don't announce land pooling policy, that the whole area of nearly 20 revenue villages will be converted into concrete jungle. What has happened in 85 urbanized villages are. So I was saying that Delhi is basically in 2 parts. One is unauthorized illegal colonies, 85 urbanized villages, where crores, where nearly, I think, 35 to 40% population resides there. Master plan is talking about land area, not about this area. And if you visit any urbanized village, you will find it's a concrete jungle in the sense that there are 7 stories, 5, 6 stories on a plot of say 200 meter or even 150 meter. Blatant violation of all building norms. If there is a fire brigade vehicle cannot go inside in many areas of these urbanized villages. That is a big challenge. Government must do this. You just have a cut-off date and then you see now no more construction. This is one. Second is planned area where this land pooling policy, transit-oriented TOD policy, and green area, parking, traffic, multimodal system, they all come. Those issues are not very challenging as far as I think. The more challenge lies here in urbanized villages.
Mr. Kumar, we almost seem to be seeing two Delhis right now. You've got look at the beautiful central vistas there, the new Parliament building, Pragati Maidan, world-class airport coming up. You've got the possibility for a really good road network. The metro is so great. So, to one extent, you've got a potential first world-class city. But that is coexisting with a second city, a city which is a complete mess, where traffic is constantly jammed, illegal construction is taking place, pollution everywhere, you can't breathe the air. There are two cities out here. Which of the two Delhis is eventually going to win, in your view?
Since the government is not deciding on these issues, contentious issues, ultimately these areas, urbanized villages, they will pose a big challenge in time to come. Government is not deciding on land pooling policy. There is a land pooling policy. The government, but that land pooling policy is on paper. It is not implemented. If it is not implemented even after 7-8 years, what will happen to that area? Everybody knows that. So ultimately, these challenges are far more serious than ये तो जो Lutyens zone है, the real Delhi, which New Delhi, South Delhi, जो हम लोग सब जानते हैं. अच्छा, like you take farmhouses. Government is not deciding anything on farmhouses. आप उनको regularize करेंगे. Where is the water supplies? Water table is going down and down. And चोरी जो है वो सब पानी जो है extract हो रहा है. There are many problems. So.
All right, Mr. Balvinder Kumar, you're not sounding terribly optimistic about the future of Delhi, but are you still hopeful that perhaps something could get done?
Why let me respond to this. I sound like very pessimistic because I have seen these issues very, very closely. And I have also seen issues pending for a long, long time. And the government is not deciding this. So that is why I'm sounding a bit like pessimistic. But yes, as far as master plan is concerned, I think after a lot of discussions among various stakeholders, they have, it must be good. All they have taken world-class norms, they have taken into account.
तो बजाज जी, बलविंदर कुमार जी थोड़ा निराश से लग रहे थे कि पता नहीं दिल्ली में तरक्की होगी कि नहीं होगी. पर अब अगर एक तरह से सारे पावर्स एलजी के पास हैं, सर्विसेज के पास हैं, सबके पास हैं, तो अब क्या हो सकता है कि डेवलपमेंट में तेजी आएगी?
वी आर वेरी होपफुल. और बलविंदर जी का डिसअपॉइंट होना लाजमी है कि उनका एक तरीके से बेबी है. ये जब पॉलिसी स्टार्ट हुई थी 13 के अंदर फर्स्ट टाइम बनी थी और सेकंड टाइम 18 के अंदर बनी. तो अभी जो बेसिकली सिर्फ दो इशू मेजर इश्यूज़ हैं जिसको सॉल्ट आउट करते ही दोनों ही पॉलिसियाँ विद इन 2 months ग्राउंड पर आ सकती हैं. नंबर 1, डीडी एक्ट जो अभी चेंजेस के लिए डाला हुआ है, जो संसद से पास होना, एवरीथिंग इज़ रेडी, सारा डिस्कशन हो चुका है, इवन GOM भी इसके ऊपर बैठ चुका है. सेकेंड इज़ मास्टर प्लान 2041, दोनों ही चीज़ें रेडी हैं. इसमें कुछ माइनर चेंजेस बाकी हैं जो अभी ड्यू टू फ्लड अभी आए हैं.
Mr. Bajaj, thank you so much for joining us. Well, hope springs eternal. As I was saying, one of the world's fastest growing and largest countries deserves to have a world-class capital. There has been this big political row, and that row will continue. Who's in charge of Delhi? Which is it, the center or is it the state government? And there will be argument and fighting between the BJP and the Aam Aadmi Party or other political parties as well. But hopefully somewhere in the middle of all of this, the basic question of building a world-class capital for India, an important aspect of the India story. Hopefully that will continue. All right, let's now move to our regular segment, what the global news networks around the world are actually saying about India and the India story. But not surprisingly, it's very rare to see praise for India coming out in Chinese publications. And China Daily had an article where it was complaining about India's move to restrict imports of personal computers. It said it is aimed at curbing imports from China and promoting the Make in India initiative. But China Daily says that these are protectionist measures and it could lead to price hikes, affect product quality and deter foreign investment. But hey, that is China Daily. What else would you expect them to say? Moving on, Japan Times had an article looking at the continuing trouble and the continuing violence in Manipur. It says that the issue needs to be addressed directly and dialogue needed to be facilitated. It says that the crisis is challenging the government's claims of effective governance. So that article in Japan Times. Meanwhile, the New York Times had a really important investigation. It unveiled a worldwide global network orchestrated apparently by China to promote its influence and propaganda. And that particular New York Times story did refer to a couple of publications in India as well as being part of that entire network. And now we have an extraordinary guest who's taken the world of archery by storm. At just 17 years old, ADITI SWAMI has etched her name in history as the youngest ever world champion in archery. It's been an incredible 2023 for ADITI, who went from being the junior world champion to securing the senior title within months, making her India's first individual world champion in the sport. The story of this young girl from Maharashtra, Satara, is nothing short of extraordinary, and it reflects the spirit, I guess, among India's youth. So, without taking any more time in the introduction, let's speak now to ADITI, who is currently in Paris for the World Cup Stage 4 next week. ADITI, it's such a pleasure to speak to you. And first of all, many, many congratulations to you on behalf of the entire nation. You've become world champion at the age of 17. Congratulations on your achievement.
जी सर, मैंने ये पहली बार वर्ल्ड चैंपियनशिप में जा रही थी, तो थोड़ा सा नर्वस भी थी, पर सोचा था कि कोई कुछ मतलब शांत होके खेलना है। और जब मैं जीती तब मेरे को सभी की कॉल आया। नरेंद्र मोदी जी ने भी हमें ट्वीट किया था, तो बहुत अच्छा लगा कि आर्चरी को लोग इतना सपोर्ट कर रहे हैं। आर्चरी भी इंडिया में फैल रहा है।
हाँ, आर्चरी की काफ़ी तरक्की हो रही है भारत में, पर ये जब आपने टूर्नामेंट जीता, आपके जो मेंटर थे ज्योति वेनम, आपने उनको भी हराया और फिर आप वर्ल्ड चैंपियन बनी, तो कंपटीशन के बारे में कुछ बताइए हमें।
जी सर, कॉन्फिडेंस तो था क्योंकि पहले दिन ही हमारा, उसके पहले दिन टीम का भी गोल्ड मेडल आया था, तो कॉन्फिडेंस था। और मैंने बस अपने एंजॉय के लिए खेला था कि ये नहीं सोचा कि अगर हार गई तो क्या होगा। बस मैं हर मोमेंट को एंजॉय कर रही थी। सामने नहीं देखा कि कोई कौन कॉम्पिटिटर है, बस खुद पे भरोसा रखा और मैंने वही चीजें इस्तेमाल की।
मैंने सुना है कि आपके पास 4 सपने हैं और ये ऐसे सपने हैं जिनको आपने अपनी दीवार पर लिख कर रखा हुआ है, और उन 4 सपनों में से 2 तो सफल हो गए।
जी सर, जब लॉकडाउन चल रहा था तब सब कुछ बंद था, बट मेरी मतलब मैं घर पे ही प्रैक्टिस कर रही थी। तब मैंने जो पुराने मैचेस थे, मतलब उस पहले तो मैंने कभी इंडिया को रिप्रेजेंट नहीं किया था। तो मेरा पहला सपना यही था कि मैं इंडिया टीम में जाके मेरे को इंडिया को रिप्रेजेंट करना है। तब मेरे को आइडिया आई थी कि मैंने एक ड्रीम वॉल बनाई थी कि मुझे अगले सालों में जो कौन से कॉम्पिटिशन खेलने हैं। तो मैंने बस उसी को फॉलो किया। जब भी कोई मेरे डाउनफॉल आता था या कुछ होता था, तो मैं बस उस ड्रीम वॉल को सोचती थी कि नहीं, मुझे ये अचीव करना है। और फिर मुझे उससे थोड़ा-सा मोटिवेशन मिलता था। और मेरा अभी तो यूथ वर्ल्ड चैंपियनशिप में भी मेडल आए 2, वर्ल्ड चैंपियनशिप में मेडल आए। अभी जो आगे एशियन गेम्स होंगे, उसमें मुझे इंडिया के लिए गोल्ड मेडल लाना है और एशियन चैंपियनशिप्स भी है इसी साल, उसमें भी मुझे इंडिया के लिए मेडल्स लाने हैं।
तो 50% तो आप सफल हो ही गई हैं और 50% अभी करना बाकी है। एक ऐसा सपना है जो शायद उस दीवार पर नहीं है, वो है ओलंपिक्स, और वो इसलिए क्योंकि कंपाउंड आर्चरी ओलंपिक स्पोर्ट अभी तक नहीं है। शायद बन जाएगा 2028 में, पर अभी ओलंपिक स्पोर्ट नहीं है। क्या यही वजह है कि आपने उसका नाम नहीं लिखा था?
हाँ जी सर। वो ऐसा था कि 2020 में मुझे पता नहीं था कि मतलब 28 में ओलंपिक में आएगा। तो मैंने जो मेरे को पॉसिबल है, जो मैं अभी मैचेस जीत सकती हूँ, उसी का लिखा था। पर जैसे कि अभी नेक्स्ट मंथ डिसाइड होगा कि कंपाउंड 2020 में आएगा या नहीं, जो कि आना ही चाहिए। तो मैं आके ही वो ड्रीम वॉल में वो भी अपना सपना अटैच कर दूँगी सर।
सपनों को सफल बनाने के लिए लोगों की सहायता की ज़रूरत होती है और आपके केस में आपके पिताजी ने आपकी इतनी सहायता की, वो सतारा रिलोकेट हो गए, लोन्स लिए, बैंक से लोन लिए आपकी सहायता करने के लिए। उनके बारे में हमें कुछ बताइए।
जी सर, जैसे कि मैं मिडिल क्लास फैमिली से हूँ और जो हमारा आर्चरी गेम है वो एक्सपेंसिव है, जिसमें एक धनुष लेने के लिए 3 लाख रुपए लगते हैं और वो धनुष हमें बार-बार चेंज करना पड़ता है। तो उस टाइम जब मैंने पहली बार लिया था, तब पापा को लोन लेना पड़ा था। तो मैंने बस यही सोचा कि अगर मतलब पापा मेरे पे इतने पैसे लगा रहे हैं, तो मुझे भी कुछ तो करना चाहिए उनके लिए, उनको प्राउड फील करवाना चाहिए। और मैंने बस यही चीज़ें सोची और जैसे कि अभी हम मेडेजिन में थे, जो कि पूरा टाइम ज़ोन उल्टा था, मतलब इधर रात होती थी, उधर दिन होता था। तब भी मेरे पापा मेरी मैच रात भर जाग के देख रहे थे। तो मुझे बहुत अच्छा फ़ील होता है कि मैं अपने पापा का नाम ऊँचा कर रही हूँ, मेरे माता-पिता मेरे को इतना सपोर्ट कर रहे हैं और मैं भी उनका नाम रोशन कर पा रही हूँ।
तो शुभकामनाएं आपको ही नहीं पर आपके पिताजी को भी और पूरी देश की तरफ से हम उनको धन्यवाद देना चाहेंगे कि उन्होंने आपकी इतनी सहायता की और आपने आपके सपनों को सफल बनाया। बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद अदिति, आप हमारे साथ थी। बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद। And that's all we have time for you this week on the India Story, but we'll be back next week with all the big news stories coming out of India and top experts to help you understand and analyze them. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.